The counsel to the Nigerian Football Federation, Festus Keyamo, said the order of the court recognizing the NFF election of Chris Giwa was not binding on FIFA. The Minister of Youth and Sport, Solomon Dalog, had on Monday directed the NFF to comply with the judgment of the Supreme Court delivered on April 27, 2018. The judgment, he noted, restored the orders of the Federal High Court, setting aside the purported election into Executive Committee of the NFF held on September 30, 2014, which produced Abmaju Pinnick. Keyamo, who spoke to newsmen in Abuja, says Pinnick had never been a party to any case in court, adding that the order of the court was not binding on FIFA, which the NFF is an athlete of. Okay, interesting. Joining us live in the studio is, of course, to discuss this, is the former chairman of Gombe Football Association, Gara Gombe. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Okay.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Let's just go straight. Before we dive into the NFF story and the NFF cycle, let's first talk about the World Cup. And two big games coming up today, the quarterfinals of the World Cup in Russia. France will be taking on Uruguay, and of course, the big one, another one is Belgium taking on Brazil. Two young squad making waves, of course, in the Russia 2018. Who are you rooting for?
Well, I don't like rooting for, maybe to use your language.
Okay.
That is prediction. I don't like prediction because even those animals who predict, you find out that they are animals being bred by global betting groups of syndicates.
And some of them are being butchered right now.
And yes, and in Nigeria, for instance, where you have the emergence of betting companies, we have started to believe those animals and key into that. So honestly, I don't like prediction, but I'm sure we're going to have a very good game, considering the antecedents of the two teams, especially Belgium has some incredible, exceptional players, and also Brazil. France also have some known decent players. So it's going to be really a very good game.
Okay, interesting. Let's look at Nigeria, considering the performance that Nigeria had just few days, like last week, and they were out of the tournament. And let's look at Africa in particular. The performance of Nigeria and Africa. No African country was able to qualify to the second round of the FIFA World Cup in Russia. What's your take on this?
Honestly speaking, I had always expressed my reservations about African teams' qualifications into World Cup. There are so many dirty things that goes outside the field, and that is really a cause for concern. And all the African teams are guilty of such dirty things that happened. However, and that is why when we go to the global stage, you see us not doing very well. Every country in Africa wants to win its matches. Every country wants to qualify. Every coach wants to win. Every federation wants to win, and rest of it. So it is curious for you to look at when you do well during qualifying matches, but you go to the world stage, you don't do well, and that is really cause for concern. Look at the Super Eagles, and that's why I kept on saying that I have also my doubts about the capacity and ability of our coach. The NFF knew how they got him. They also knew what they have done for us to qualify, having not been in the previous editions. There are some, we are not in Germany, which is really a very bad setback. And we were in South Africa, yes. But after that, yes, and also we're in Brazil, but the performance was not really that encouraging. However, a local coach was able to do the job to a certain level, which we refuse to build on that because we don't believe on our own. And why is it that the same role that we all rooted for, we are clapping hands for, he has done well, he has repositioned the Eagles. As far as I'm concerned, I kept on saying that, look, forget it, this man has not done anything incredible, he has not done anything different from what our indigenous coaches like Keshi and Co have done before. Then, and my reservations were somehow vindicated after we qualified for the World Cup, we lost virtually all the matches leading to the World Cup. And we went into the World Cup again, we were doing badly. You cannot really pinpoint which kind of pattern is the Eagles playing. And every time it's cut and paste. We cannot say that this is the starting 11 of the Eagles, unlike before that year you can go home and close your eyes. So it is really a worrisome this situation. So therefore, I don't think the coaching has really given us what really we expect.
Okay, in 2014, you know, an indigenous coach took Nigeria to the World Cup. Of course, the second round of the particular tournament in Brazil. And this time around, Roy, of course, the technical manager for the Super Eagles, a foreign coach, so to say, we could not get out of the first round. And despite all the preparation, all the good preparation, in quotes, so to say, that the Super Eagles, you know, had. What exactly do you think is responsible?
No.
For the,
you see,
the
number one is that until the day the NFA decides to employ coaches for development, not for tournaments, then we get it right. You remember, every time we wanted to go for a tournament, because of the high expectations by Nigerians and by stakeholders, the NFA will go and get a coach. Sometimes a coach will even qualify us to World Cup. We will refuse him to take us. We go and bring a foreign coach or another coach and give him targets.
But that's why the NFF, that's why the NFF had to extend his contract, because they needed someone to build a team.
He does not have that kind of capacity. If he has that capacity, he could have shown it in this World Cup and even the games before the World Cup. That's why I kept on saying, during the qualifiers, the NFA knew the incredible things they did for us to qualify, but not because Raw has any capacity to show. It's very clear. How can you qualify us to a World Cup, quote unquote, and with all the praises and encomiums, then you come 4 matches before the World Cup, you lost all these matches. And again, when you get to the World Cup, your first game, you lost the game. And everyone is very audible to the deaf and visible to the blind that there was serious technical problem. So until the time, unless the NFA employ coaches for development, we had before, when Olise came, the NFA said he's going to give us a 5-year development plan for our football. Where is it? When Shoaib Ahmadu was, late Shoaib Ahmadu Mehesoros in was in charge of the technical department, we were told he has a 5-year development program. If he has a 5-year development program, why don't we follow that program and to get to where we are? But because when you employ a coach, you give him target, either semi-final, either second round. So he'll be working towards that target. Once he lost that target, he should start thinking of packing his bags and baggages to go. So let us take coaches, employ them for development, 5-6 year development plan. Westerhoff came here, he did it, and we succeeded. We give him enough time to take his time to plan a team that is going to grow. How can you play qualifiers? Maybe you have 8 matches with 75 players. Inconsistency.
Okay, interesting. Okay, let's look at the major points now. It seems one trouble World Cup for Nigeria, despite the fact that the Nigerian Super Eagles are out of the World Cup. But something is looming back at home, which is, of course, the leadership of the Nigerian Football Federation. Now, Festus Keyamo, who is, of course, the NFF spokesperson, he said that what the Supreme Court judgment doesn't bind on what FIFA said, and this has to do with the fact that the Amaju-led board had to be sacked, then the Chris Giwa-led board to come in and take over as the new NFF. What exactly is going on?
First and foremost, let me say that, yes, it has been a ritual. Every World Cup year, there's a trouble. And why is it? Because every World Cup year, that is the election year. It is only this time they try now to shift the timetable of the elections, which the Congress approved as the highest decision-making body of the NFF. And mostly, the distractions always arises from money, because there's so much money or there are little money, people want to steal from it and they still want to perform. But this time, honestly, in fairness to the Amaju-led board, for the very first time, we never had that distraction about money. Yeah. So now the distraction we have had is about interest, about elections. And we knew it's coming, it's going to come, simply because those who are in don't want to go out, whether they have overstayed their welcome or not. Those who are outside, they wanted to also want to come in, whether they have the capacity to deliver this or not. So that always breeds that confusion. Now, that is where we are. And before they knew go to the World Cup, they knew they were in court. Their leadership is being challenged in court by Chris Giwa-led board for almost 4 years, has been there. So they went with it at the back of this in their mind. So based on that Supreme Court judgment and Festus Keyamo statement, Festus Keyamo, let us first ask ourselves, because many people don't know, what is the status of Festus Keyamo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, in this NFF case? He's a lawyer to NFF.
It's counsel.
It's a counsel to NFF, external lawyer. NFF has a legal department headed by a lawyer. So they got Festus Keyamo to fight this case for them. As I speak, as at yesterday, I understand that the Chris Giwa-led board, as recognized by Supreme Court or the judgment, has deprived Festus Keyamo. So he is even no longer the NFF lawyer. So if he speaks on behalf of the NFF then, now he cannot speak on behalf of the NFF. Maybe he can speak for Amaju if Amaju decides now to take him as his personal lawyer. And look at the statement. He said, Amaju is not a party to this case. You cannot say if you take federal government of Nigeria to court and you have a leader and you want to divorce the leadership with the body, it's not possible. If they take NFF to court, they are indirectly taking Amaju to court. And unfortunately for us, most of our friends in the media and most of Nigerians who are interpreting this case, nobody wants to go, and laziness has made us not to go and investigate and to find out exactly what is going on. You see everybody in the newspapers, in the social media, quoting Festus Keyamo, as if what Festus Keyamo said is from heaven, that cannot be challenged or is correct. Okay, and his interpretation of it is only a lawyer. There is political angle to it. And also, apart from being the political angle to it, this case has a history. So people should always find out what were the antecedents that leading to where we are before they now start to make comment and start quoting a lawyer who is doing his job. Okay.
Before we round up, talking about where we are now, you know, there's this saying that they don't take football matters to court. You know, so this time around, the case is already in court. Should Nigeria be expecting a ban, or a sanction, something of sort?
No. Let me tell you, nobody should say you don't have to take football matters to court. Football matters can still go to court. Even if you said by convention you agreed, okay, let us play the game this way, but not to go to court. But the legal implication is that the status of FIFA and also the status of NFA, the opening paragraphs of NFA status says it subjects itself to Nigerian laws. Likewise, the status of FIFA said it subjects itself to the Swiss laws. So you can actually take football, yes, it subjects itself to Swiss court, and you can also challenge the decisions that affects you in court if you are not really dissatisfied. I mean, there are antecedents. In Switzerland, the captain of Peru went to court and got judgment against a court of arbitration.
Went to court.
Exactly, went to court in Switzerland. So what are we talking about? We should also look at the Constitution of Nigeria. The only instrument that guides our existence as a sovereign nation is the Constitution. And what does the Constitution say? The Constitution said any law that is contravenes or rather is in conflict with the Constitution of Nigeria, our Constitution takes precedence. In this case, you cannot import laws from FIFA and say it's going to override our own Constitution. It's not possible. And you can, and the same Constitution says if you want to that law to exist in Nigeria, okay, you have to domesticate it. And we have not done that. So this Giwa Amaju Pinnick's matter is beyond the two of them. It is about Nigeria, and that is why I have consistently been calling for presidential intervention to get this matter out. Now, this matter is back in court in Jos. They said they are going back to court next week. And I understand the courts are going on vacation. till September. Okay. So are you going to now continue to roll over this matter? We have so many teams going on qualifying games. We have so many contracts that have been entered. So somebody high up there should bring them together to resolve this for Nigerian football to move forward.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.